Yo, JD here, Limits, and as you can see, we are on F1 2021 as always. And today, we are back with a league race, this time at BRS Mexico. And I don't have the standings on the screen, but I can confirm in this race, if I beat Kimi by 9 points, then I claim this season's BRS championship. And I love Mexico. It's probably one of my favorite tracks to drive on the game, and I was feeling very, very confident coming into this race. So you managed to clinch the TSRL title in Mexico on the previous game, so we're going to try and do the same thing for F1 2021. But you can see at the moment intermediate conditions for Q1, and it always seems to rain quite a lot in Mexico, which I don't know if it's a very common thing for Mexico City, but for the game it actually typically does rain
a lot more time,
quite a bit. So see, we're just setting our first laps on the inters. I've worked quite a bit on my intermediate pace, so I think that's definitely one of my weaker aspects of this year's game for me. And going across on, we set the provisional, the fastest lap in Q1 at the moment.
With my low downforce, I really struggle in the last sector, but I think that's good enough for now.
And that leads me to say that for this race, I was running quite a different setup. I was running a very, very low downforce setup with 5.8 wings or 6.8 wings, depending on what stint or weather conditions I was in. So in a straight line, I was absolutely rapid, because I feel I can keep a very good momentum going through the corners around this track. And I think having a lot of ERS is something I really like to have around here. Especially when I do my open lobbies, it really works very well for me. But you can see NRX Critch is in the lobby. And you can see Kimi, who is my championship rival. You can't quite see him here. He was actually knocked out in Q1 when he is very, very good in these conditions. So that has already helped me for this championship. As we're in Q2 now, we're going to try and start the race on the medium tyre, because I think the alternate strategy is very powerful around here. But that leads me to say, with this BRS season, I think the people participating has been quite inconsistent. There's been a lot of drivers doing a race and then not being able to make it and then returning again, mainly because of just how unstable this game has been for 2021. So I really hope next season that we will have some very consistent drivers stay for the whole season, because I think it will make it a very intense battle. But for me, I absolutely love racing, no matter who it is and who's turning up. I always like to give it my absolute best. And you can see with this setup here, we're struggling quite a bit in the corners, but in the first sector, we are very, very fast. So we're going to try and go through on the medium tyres here, and so far the lap has been not too bad, but not brilliant. It's been a solid-ish lap, but definitely a lot of time left on the table, as a 15.1 or 2 is my best. With mediums, we do a 15.5, which isn't too bad, and will probably mean we don't have to go out again. But it does depend how many people go on the soft tyre, because the soft tyre is about 1.4 seconds quicker on average for the Delta. And you're about to see here now, me and Critch just got through on the medium tyres.
I'm just gonna go for 2 laps and leave this one fresh, because the problem is, if I use these two, a lot of people don't know this, if you use these 2 tyres, this is only for qualifying that tyre. So if you use these 2 tyres, you're not going to get this fresh tyre for the race. This is only for qualifying, so I'm going to use this one and then leave this one for the race, because I want a fresh set of tyres if I can.
So as I was explaining there, I decided to go out on a used set of soft tyres at the moment, because I wanted 2 fresh tyres, sets of softs for the race for the alternate strategy. See, the first up is a 15.0, and there's absolutely no grip in these tyres. So now we're just going to do one run on a fresh set of softs, and to try and get ourselves up the grid. I knew I probably wasn't going to get pole, Because with a different setup, I was saying 13s, but in the race, I just enjoyed having that straight line speed. If I could stay with someone in the DRS, then I felt we were in a very, very good position. So this is my one and only lap, really, in the Q3 on these fresh set of softs. And you can see we're already a tenth and a half up going through the first few corners. But this is where the setup will suffer with the low downforce. Typically want to be running 7.8 or 7.9 wings here. We're currently running 6.8 wings going through into this, so we will be hindered a little bit going through into the corners. But overall, I was actually quite happy with this lap. So just keep it nice and consistent, making sure we do not invalidate, because we cannot afford to invalidate at all with one run, and we're currently in P8.
Very good.
But you can see with that lack of downforce, we are struggling a little bit in this middle sector, and in the last sector, this is where we will also be suffering. But we do this pretty nice and tidy, and yeah, that's how I would really describe this lap. As Critch does a 13.9, we come across the line, we do a 14.3.
I'm happy with that.
And most of that time was lost really in the last sector. If we do see it, we might not see it, but it was really in that last sector and a little bit in the middle is where we lost all the time. So
yeah, it's so annoying when someone doesn't connect your tyres. Just.
And one issue we had is this first race restart. Oh, sorry, this first race start. You will see we do restart this race because we were waiting on the grid for about 5 minutes for someone to load in, and our tyres were so cold. Something they really do need to fix. So we go into this first corner. BRS Ermine gets to jump on us. He does a Verstappen going into the first corner. We're just trying to stay out of trouble, making sure I just stay with Critch.
Virtual safety car. Really.
And then the virtual safety car comes out. So we just thought at this stage, okay, we'll just chill and stay behind him. We're in a good position here. But then,
tyres are just so
if you look in the mirror,
what on earth has happened there? What?
Check your MFD for a new strategy option. VSC ending. We're going.
What's going on?
and yeah, it's
Are we restarting? I'm guessing we're restarting. Yeah, I think we're restarting.
pretty clear that we're going to be restarting the race because some people's lights didn't even go out on the grid. So we restarted the lobby. Everyone is now on fresh tyres now. Or have to go on the same tyres we did in qualifying. So we're on mediums again. This time our tyres are not 30 degrees colder than they were. And you can see this time we get a very good start. Ermine doesn't quite get the jump because our tyres are much, much hotter than they were before. So with the straight line speed, we're actually leading into this turn one. But again, does Ermine go around the outside like a Verstappen? He's trying to. Does he get it done? Yes, he does. So he does the Verstappen once again. We lose out on the exit to Critch with MBSFN slotting in behind. And so far, not too bad, really, to be honest. It's not a bad thing. As long as we stay close to Critch, who is our main rival for this race because he's on the alternate strategy, which I believe to be much, much faster
Yeah, softs are going to be really good at the start of the race.
than normal strategy, then I think we're in a really good position. So as we continue on, as I said there, the softs are very good for the first part of the race, but we're still able to keep in the DRS of Ermine, and typically you want to be 6 or 7 seconds ahead as Critch is going down the inside. So being nice and bold here, we've got to make sure we don't run into the back of this Mercedes. So we're going to try and use our straight line speed to get past him. Cannot afford for Critch to leave our DRS here. But Ermine, I know, is quite a feisty driver as he goes down the inside, hits the back. We very lucky that we didn't go into the back of him. I anticipated that he'd be very slow on the apex, so I held the brakes on for a little bit longer because I think most people would probably have released the brakes, but I think he didn't want me to get a switchback on him. And now we are the third man in the DRS train. So the soft tyres for Ermine are still going to be quite good at this stage, but the crucial thing is that I don't let Critch get out of this DRS zone because he's running a little bit higher downforce. And he's the man on form at the moment. I think in the recent WR League, he won round Imola. So he's definitely got a lot of confidence right now. One of the fastest on Xbox as well. And it's definitely going to be a good test. So we've got to try and stay within the DRS zone of him. But Ermine's tyres are now starting to go off. He was really struggling through this middle sector. And you can see Critchard's actually broken out of the DRS zone. So it's really crucial that we get past Ermine on this lap. But we know our straight line speed is very good. I think we were gaining about 3 tenths in the first sector on everyone, purely because of our straight line speed. So if I could remain in the DRS zone, that's where I need to be. So Ermine pits now. His tyres are going off. Now we're going to get the benefit of the DRS. And look at the delta, 1.6. And you will just see how much this will go down. So it's gone down 3 tenths. It's gone down 4 tenths. It's gone down 5 tenths now. It's gone down 6 tenths in a straight. And then we get another boost of the DRS here. But Critch, he's really, really fast in the corner. So he gains another 2 tenths just going through those few corners. But we're just going to gain it straight back going through into this first sector. But it's the middle sector where there's no straights. This is where he's going to pull away. So the gap is about 1 second. But you're about to see he pulls away through these corners with the more downforce. So it's crucial that I get within this DRS zone. Because if I get within this DRS zone, it's going to be so easy to stay with him. Purely because of the straight line speed we have. But this is the detection point for the next DRS. And you can see we're just struggling too much through these corners. Because this is the track that I'm very, very confident in not getting any track limit warnings and doing a good pace. This is why I went for quite an aggressive setup, really, to just try it out in this race. But you can see again, we make up time here, but the detection point is there on that white line, and we just miss out once again. So we really wanted to get the DRS that lap, because that would have meant we didn't have to actually use that much of the ERS. So now we're having to use it again.
Oh, I didn't get the DRS, really?
And yeah, I just realized there that I didn't get the DRS. So you can see our delta, we are gaining again in the straight line. We're not even using any of the ERS here. No detection point going through these corners. So we've got to try and be very aggressive on these corners as we are. Now we're going to use the ERS on this exit. And let's see if this time we can get that DRS in the middle sector. It'll be very, very crucial for our race. So going through to these corners, we've got to try and keep the momentum up as much as possible. Rusty, who is a very, very fast driver, he actually crashed in Q1. So he started at the back of the race, and he's been a very, very fast driver in this recent championship. So, and he's already got a 3-second time penalty, which just shows how hard it is. Coming through here, do we get a detection point now? No, we don't. So we're having to use the ERS again. So using a lot more ERS than I would have anticipated or liked. I really wanted to just sit behind him this first stint and just gain all that ERS. But now we're in a position where we're having to use quite a lot of it. So this time we actually get within the DRS zone, and you're about to see how much we gain down this straight. So the detection point is before that last corner. We get the DRS now, and if you look at the delta on the top left, we're just gaining so much time in a straight line. And now this is the point where we can actually afford to relax, because we have another round of DRS coming off the exit of these corners. So he gains it through here, but since our straight line speed is just so good, we are able to stay in the DRS zone quite nicely now and try and recoup back some of that ERS that we have had to use. So coming towards the end of lap 14, you can see we are sitting in behind him very, very nicely. The gap to Rusty behind is kind of stabilized at around 6.9 seconds. So he goes into the pits, and I actually decide to continue, because again, I got the DRS from that last corner, and I was just really, really confident in my pace, and I know how powerful fresher tyres are around here. And in open lobbies, I always go very, very deep into the race, because with his strategy, he's going to have to do about 11 laps each on the softs, which is actually quite taxing for the soft tyre. So we decided to go a little bit more aggressive and make it to about 10 laps to maybe 9 laps or 10 laps per soft stint. As you can see here, he's got an absolutely enormous undercut. And I knew for the first stint that he was going to get a big undercut, because he was going on the softs and I was going to stay for the mediums. But for the latter part of the race, so for the next stop, he shouldn't get that much of an undercut, because I am on the soft tyre as well. So You've got to be patient in this, but the gap is 2.9 seconds. But I felt quite confident that I was able to close down that gap coming towards the end of the stint. So I've got about 10 laps to close down 2.9 seconds. So almost 2 to 3 tenths a lap I have to be gaining, which I thought would be very possible. Because I didn't want to lap fresher tyres. It's very similar to USA and China, where it's about 3 or 4 tenths a lap on the fresher tyres. So I'm actually catching Ermine, but at the wrong place. So I decided not to overtake him here. And if you look at the delta, you're going to see how much time we're going to be losing, because Ermine's on the mediums, Critch is on the softs. The gap's gone from 2.9 to 3.9 seconds. We've lost a second in 3 corners, and that is an absolutely critical part of this race. We have caught Ermine at the wrong time, and maybe with hindsight, we should have actually overtaken him going through that middle sector. But I know he really likes to fight his position, so that's why I didn't do it. Gap is now 3.5 seconds to Critch, and we have lost about a second going because of that lap, because of that traffic. So that's definitely not what we needed. I was really hoping I was going to catch Ermine towards the end of the lap, but that hasn't been the case. So now we've actually got a lot more work to do. So coming through into here, this is what I wanted. I wanted to try and catch Ermine at the end of the lap. So I'm going to try and do the same to Luciano without him holding me up. So coming through into here, we're not going to be close enough to get into the detection point, but the soft tyres are just so powerful around here. And he's actually elected to go on the hard tyres. So I think he's going to try and maybe go for the one-stop strategy. The detection point is off the exit of this corner. And with these tyres, we should be more than capable of getting to the detection point, which we are. The gap is still 3.9 to Critch. So I knew at the start of the stint, the soft tyres will be fairly equal, even if a lap fresher. But it's towards the end of the stint, when they start falling away, that's when you really notice the difference between tyres. So you can see the delta is coming down all the time. We're going to have another DRS zone of the exit of here. And now this is where I need to start making those very small inroads. And I need to send a message that I definitely have the pace. So coming off the exit here, you can see the gap has gone down 6 to 7 tenths because of that DRS. Got in the purple first sector. Now this is where I need to really start clawing back this advantage. So every lap that goes past, I should be closing in on him more and more. And carrying this momentum is a very powerful thing. If you see a driver catching you by 2 or 3 tenths a lap, it feels pretty relentless to try and hold off that momentum. So it's very important that I actually try and set the fastest lap here to really kind of send a psychological message. As silly as that sounds, I think it's a very powerful thing that people do overlook at times. And you can see the gap has now come down to 2.8 seconds, especially for this last sector. We were driving very well in the race here. Coming across the line, what's it going to be? It's going to be the same lap time of a 16.1, but crucially, we've actually closed in about a second on that lap. So as the laps pass, the gap wasn't changing that much at the beginning, but you can see now, as it goes on, as the wear happens on his tyres, that 1 lap fresher tyre definitely comes more into play, and we're catching him about 2 to 3 tenths per lap. So moving on to the end of this, another 2 tenths on this lap, and we really need to be catching him by lap 25 at the bare minimum. So we're almost within the DRS zone. We were less than a tenth away here. So going down this main straight, we've had to use quite a bit of ERS throughout this stint to try and make some inroads in Critch. But Critch was driving, honestly, fantastic. He was really responding to the pressure very well. He's been very consistent. And as I said, I know how much of a benefit it is to have these fresher tyres. So going through these corners, he's still got to have a little bit more downforce. But going through into here, I've really got to try and make sure I'm within the DRS zone as we did in the first stint. So, and this time with the lap fresher tyres, the undercut shouldn't be as significant as it was. So I was planning to pit just 1 lap later than him again, because I felt confident that I would be able to actually track down him in the last stint despite a small undercut. and then with the fresher tyres and the straight line speed, that we would be able to overtake him with around two laps to go in the race. So that was really what my mindset plan was. So coming through into here, we should be within the detection points. If we do this corner very, very nicely, about 2/10 within the detection point, he's probably going to pit at the end of this lap, which he does. So as soon as I catch him in the DRS, he decides to pull the trigger. So he's going to have to do another 11-lap stint on these tyres, which I knew would be quite a difficult task for him at the end. So I'm going to go for another lap. But I saw he was actually in traffic. He actually caught a lot of the traffic. So instead of it pitting this lap, I actually decided to go one more. And I felt he was going to be caught at the wrong time in the traffic. So I was hoping that that would actually hold him up. But you can see he's actually managed to go through that traffic much quicker than anticipated. And he's actually closed in another 2 seconds. So he's had a 2-lap undercut versus a 1-lap undercut. So it's going to be very interesting to see what this gap was. Before this lap, it looked like it would be the right call to go on another lap with all that traffic. But he's managed to get through it so nicely. And he's already gone past. And what's this gap going to be? It's going to be much bigger. And now it's 4.3, 4.4 seconds, 4.5 seconds, 4.6 seconds, 4.7. That is a big gap to close down now. And if we pitted a lap before, the gap would have been just over 2 seconds, I would say. And that would have been very, probably quite comfortable to actually close in that gap. So now we have really not been unlucky, but I was really banking on him being held in that traffic. And a lot of people will say to me, why have you done this? Why would you not just pit on the same lap? The reason why is because Kimi at this point, I knew was out of the points. And all I need to do was beat him by 9 points. I just wanted to make this race just a little bit more interesting. And I know some people might not believe that. But I was very confident in having 2-lap fresher tyres. I know how powerful they are when I'm racing other people. I wanted to see how powerful they would be now. And you can see we have made a very slight inroad. But similar to the previous stint, I knew in the first 3 laps that I wouldn't be gaining that much. But towards the end, the last 4 to 3 laps, this is where I'd be gaining a lot of time. But now we're coming across some ghost cars here, and this one managed to get out of the way fairly nicely. The gap is now down to 4 seconds, so we are making good progress so far. As we skip on, that's another 4 tenths we have gained, but the gap is still 3.6 seconds. But I can see up ahead here, we have a McLaren that has actually disconnected from this race. And the ghost cars can be very annoying. You can see the Delta gained another 3 tenths in a straight line. And that is actually my championship rival, Kimi. He is actually disconnected from this race. He was out of the points as well. He's disconnected from this race. So I know as long as I don't disconnect, we have a very big chance of this championship here today. And yeah, going back to the tyres again, I just really wanted to see how powerful I was, because I was confident in my pace. I was confident enough in my pace that I could actually close in this gap, even from over 4 seconds behind. But this ghost car,
I can't fucking see,
is really annoying at times, because they just do not get out of the way, and they really do block your vision.
Turn that shit off when someone disconnects.
And yeah, it can be quite a frustrating experience. So on lap 30, lap 31 now, the gap is now 3 seconds, so we're going to have to be closing in around half a second a lap if you want to be trying to win this race. But we come across another ghost car at the wrong time, as I just said. So as we're going to go through the apex there, we're going to have to turn in. This time it didn't really hinder us as much as the previous one, but still, every 10th really does count at this stage. So on lap 34, we're going to stay on board the end of this race, so we're going to have to catch about a second a lap if we want to try and win this race. So we've been closing in quite well. We've actually closed that 4.7 gap. We've got it down to under 2 seconds. So we have been closing in pretty quickly in the last few laps. And his tyres are just going to be going off more and more. So coming through into here, trying to navigate through this. But I wasn't doing the first 2 turns particularly well throughout the race. And you can see we're running very, very low on the battery power. So we're just going to give it absolutely everything now. And if we did pit the lap later, we would have been coming out much closer. But again, I was confident in the pace. And I felt like he was probably going to be held in the traffic. If the championship was crucial for me to win this race, then I wouldn't have taken that risk. So really, there was no real risk for the championship in this situation. Hence why I decided to just go for that extra lap. But you can see we gained about another half a second on this lap, but we're not going to be in the detection points. And coming through into here, his tyres are starting to fall. We're gaining so much time going through into it. We gained about 3/10 in one corner. So his tyres are well and truly going off. Let's see how much time we can gain down the straight, but we are running on absolute fumes. Our battery is under 4% at the moment, so we're pushing very, very hard. And I think he was able to keep a bit of the battery because we're not actually gaining that much in a straight line anymore. So he's done a really, really good job at managing this race. Coming through into here now, we've got to try and get within the DRS zone. We've only got one more opportunity, really, to make an overtake, and that is going to be in the last stint. But I can confirm he does have 2 warnings, as do I in this race. So if we can get close enough, maybe we can put that last ounce of pressure on him to make a mistake. Coming through into here, his tyres are really going off now. We get some very good traction coming off here. The detection point for this DRS zone is right here, so we are going to get DRS. But are we going to be close enough going into this last stint? So we get a very good exit. We got the DRS, but we're 8/10 behind. So unless he makes a big, big mistake, it's going to be very difficult to win this race. But it's still going to, you can see the back end of his car was stepping out quite aggressively there. Gaining so much time on the apex as the fireworks go off. Going around the last corner.
GG,
and
man.
GG to Critch.
GG.
Yeah, he did everything right. And
No, he deserved that. He drove insane.
And yeah, as I said, he really did deserve that race. He made all the right decisions. He absorbed the pressure really, really well. And as I said, there was no real risk for me to go that extra lap with the championship how it was, because I've now actually won this championship with 3 races to go after this. I'm the BRS champion of this season. And that race I really enjoyed. It was a very, very intense race against one of the best on Xbox right now. Felt I had good pace, but the traffic, he just got through it too well, and he just managed it too well. So you got to give credit where it's due. GG to him. I just want to say thank you to BRS for having me this season. It's been such a fun league to be a part of. The people who run it are just very, very nice people, and I really look forward to how competitive next season is going to be, because I can see already that it's going to be a very, very competitive one considering the people who are joining. So thank you so much. Thank you for everyone who's been watching the league races this season. We race at Jeddah this weekend in BRS, so I'm really looking forward to that. Thank you so much for your support on the channel, and I will be catching you very, very soon. Peace.